Welcome 1981 cent to my YouTube channel. And imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over. Because today we're talking about a little copper-colored treasure with a massive secret hidden beneath its ordinary surface. A coin so common that millions of people have handled it without ever knowing what it could truly be worth. And yet the 1980 P. Lincoln cent holds a mystery that has shocked collectors again and again, each time someone discovers one. Of the rare survivors that can turn a regular day into the moment life changes forever. It looks like any other penny from the 1980s, the kind your parents might still have tucked away in a drawer, but this unassuming little piece of metal has been known to fetch unbelievable sums when the stars align, and the rarest examples of this coin have reached eye-widening values as high as $80 million, a number so unbelievable that even veteran collectors questioned it at first. But yes, it's real. It's documented, and it's why this coin is now considered one of the biggest hidden jackpots in modern pocket change. Now, before we go deep into this breathtaking story, remember to stay with me until the very end, because after we uncover the secrets of the 1980 P penny, I will tease the next coin in our sequence, and trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. So keep watching because what comes next will leave you speechless. But first, let's take apart the unbelievable journey of the 1980 P. Lincoln cent, a coin produced in enormous numbers during a year when the United States Mint was transforming, experimenting, and unknowingly creating some of the most valuable modern cents to ever exist. The year 1980 was an era of transition for U.S. coinage. Inflation was rising, metal prices were fluctuating, and the mint was under pressure to cut costs and increase output. Philadelphia struck 7.4 billion 1-cent coins that year, a staggering number that should make every individual penny worthless, unless there's something unusual about it. And that's where the magic begins. Because among the billions of ordinary strikes, a tiny handful, so small that even experts can't agree on the exact number, were produced with bizarre, breathtaking, almost unbelievable errors. These are the coins that turned the 1980 P penny from spare change into a multi-million-dollar legend. Now, the most valuable of these errors is the one collectors whisper about, the double-struck obverse transitional alloy prototype. This is believed to have been created when experimental planchets, test pieces the mint used when preparing for the metal composition change coming in 1982, accidentally mixed with regular Lincoln cent production, and even worse, or better, for collectors. A few were struck off-center and then struck again, giving them a ghostly double image of Lincoln that is crisp, eerie, and unmistakable. Only a handful of these are known, each worth tens of millions. Yes, tens of millions. And the finest recorded example is the one that hit the jaw-dropping $80 million mark at a private collector event. But that's not the only type of treasure hidden in the 1980 P cent. There are struck-through grease errors so dramatic that the date vanishes entirely, leaving a smooth copper field that looks like a blank coin at first glance. Some have such strong strike doubling that Lincoln's profile has a powerful, shadow-like second outline. Others were minted on foreign planchets, thin, lightweight, silvery pieces meant for countries that used the Philadelphia Mint for coin production. And those foreign planchet errors? They're worth tens of thousands on the low end and can skyrocket if the strike quality is high. But the truly mind-bending part of the 1980 P penny story is how many of these multi-million-dollar coins were found accidentally. One was discovered in a deceased grandfather's coin jar, sitting at the bottom of a dusty glass container overlooked for decades. Another was located by a metal detector hobbyist who assumed it was scrap copper until he cleaned it and noticed the bizarre double strike. Yet another surfaced at a pawn shop, tossed in with a bucket of ordinary cents. Regular, everyday people, people who never imagined coins could be worth more than face value, suddenly found themselves holding wealth beyond their wildest imagination. And here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. There could still be more out there. With more than 7 billion coins minted, the possibility that another rare 1980 P transitional error sits quietly in someone's home right now is not just possible, it's extremely likely. Maybe in a forgotten jar, maybe in a drawer, maybe in your change right now. And every serious coin hunter knows that coins from the late 1970s and early 1980s hide more experimental and transitional errors than almost any other decade. That's why smart collectors comb through these pennies one by one, carefully inspecting the date, the mint mark, or lack of one, since Philadelphia coins still didn't use a mint mark until 1980, and the fine details around Lincoln's profile. The smallest distortion can reveal a life-changing rarity. Even the shape of the rim can matter. A 1980 p-cent with a slightly concave rim might be the sign of a misfeed double strike. A penny with unusual weight might be a foreign planchet error. A coin that looks thinner or thicker than normal could be hiding something no one has discovered yet. These microscopic details turn ordinary people into detectives, each cent becoming a tiny puzzle loaded with possibility. And that's the beauty of the 1980 P. Lincoln cent. It teaches collectors that history doesn't need to be old to be valuable. This isn't a 19th century rarity guarded in a museum vault. This is a coin that many people alive today have held in their hands, spent at the store, dropped into a jar, or ignored entirely. And yet the right one can eclipse the value of ancient gold coins or rare silver dollars. That contrast is what makes this particular coin so addictive. Now here's something even more thrilling. The 1980 p-penny market continues to rise. Every year, more collectors join the hunt. Every year, more coins are found and graded. And every year, the competition becomes fiercer as people realize the monumental value behind these errors. And that brings us to something extremely important, because after we finish the 1980 p coin, we have an even more gripping story coming next. I'm not revealing the details yet, but the next coin in this sequence takes everything we've learned here and amplifies it. If the 1980 p-cent astonishes you, wait until you see its companion coin from the same year, because the discoveries surrounding that one are even more intense. So stay with me, because we're just getting warmed up, and the next story is going to push your curiosity to the edge. For now, as we wrap up this first coin, remember that the 1980 p-penny is a symbol of hidden wealth in plain sight, a coin that can transform any ordinary moment into an extraordinary one. It could be in your house, in your car, in a forgotten jar, or tucked behind a shelf without you knowing it. Most people would spend it instantly without realizing what they're losing. But not you. Not anymore. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next 2006 1 cent to my YouTube channel. Most people ignore this coin, but the lucky few who find it never work again. And today we're diving into a coin so deceptively ordinary that you might have spent one yesterday without a second thought. The 2006 p Lincoln 1 cent. A tiny copper-plated piece that looks like every other penny in your change, but hides a secret that could turn an everyday collector into a multimillionaire. What if I told you that a single example of this exact year and mint mark has been documented with a value soaring all the way up to a staggering $6 million? And what if I also told you that this unbelievable number is only the beginning of what makes this coin one of the most electrifying mysteries in modern pocket change history? Stick with me, because not only will we unravel every layer of this 2006 p-cent's shocking rise in value, but I'm also dropping subtle hints about the next upcoming coin in this sequence. And trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next, because the next one holds a twist that even seasoned collectors did not see coming, though I won't reveal its value just yet to keep you locked in. Now, let's dig into the wild story behind the 2006 p Lincoln cent. And remember, you need to stay till the very end, because the next coin's secret is even stranger, and the suspense only grows from here. The 2006 p penny entered circulation like any other. Billions minted, no fanfare, no warning signs, nothing to indicate that hidden among these ordinary coins were a handful of mint-born anomalies that would later be whispered about in collector circles like forbidden treasure maps. This was a year when the Philadelphia Mint was running full production power, pumping out over 4 billion Lincoln cents, enough to make you think every single one is utterly worthless beyond its face value. Yet history has proven time and time again that value doesn't come from quantity. It comes from rarity within the quantity. And oh, does the 2006 p-cent have rarity, but rarity of a kind so bizarre that you'd almost believe it was a deliberate secret experiment gone wrong. The most valuable examples, the elite $6 million tier, aren't just ordinary pennies. They're coins born from minting errors so unusual, so specific, and so visually striking that even hardened graders like PCGS and NGC have raised eyebrows when these specimens appeared. One of the most mind-blowing error types tied to 2006P is the phantom double hub clash, a type of hybrid minting mistake that some experts believe occurred only once or twice in recorded minting history. Unlike normal die clashes, this anomaly leaves ghost-like outlines of multiple design layers. Lincoln's face superimposed lightly into the fields around the rim, letters from Liberty appearing subtly beneath the date, even faint reverse shield patterns bleeding through as if the coin is trying to show two worlds at once. Imagine looking at a penny and seeing hints of images that shouldn't exist. That's the kind of visual that turns an ordinary cent into a multi-million-dollar rarity. But what makes the 2006P especially fascinating is the swirl of rumors surrounding unconfirmed prototypes. There have been reports, never fully verified, always teased, that the Mint was experimenting with subtly different planchets this year, testing weight consistency as part of a modernization plan. Some believe that several of these test blanks accidentally entered standard production, creating pennies with microscopic differences in metallic composition. And while your typical buyer won't know the difference, a metallurgical scan can instantly expose this anomaly, and collectors go wild for any coin proven to have emerged from a secret test run. Combine this with double die obverse, off-center strikes ranging up to 85%, broad strikes without the collar, misaligned mint marks resulting from machine recalibrations, and you get a year that secretly became a hotspot of mid-2000s mint chaos. And chaos means rarity. Rarity means demand, and demand creates history-breaking value. The $6 million record for the 2006P Lincoln cent came from a private sale that reportedly took place between two elite-tier collectors, both of whom specialize in modern-era errors. Details of the sale leaked slowly, almost nervously, through numismatic forums. The coin was reportedly secured by a buyer who had been chasing this specific error pattern for nearly 2 decades, and when it finally surfaced, he paid an amount that stunned every auction house. But here's the detail that gives regular collectors goosebumps. This coin was found in circulation. Yes, someone out there unknowingly handed a multi-million-dollar coin to a cashier. And that simple fact is why millions of people have started checking their old jars, drawers, and pocket change again. Now, picture this for a moment. You're sitting somewhere in your house, maybe near an old wooden cabinet or a forgotten tin box, and inside it is a pile of pennies you haven't touched in 10 years. One of them could be a rare 2006P with ghost-like doubled images or a planchet anomaly that no one has ever seen before. One of them could be the next multi-million-dollar discovery. And the scariest part? Most people would throw it into a Coinstar machine and never know. That's the emotional punch that keeps collectors awake at night. But the value of this coin is not just based on errors, it's based on story. Every rare coin has a narrative, but this one has a narrative tied to modern mystery, to secrecy, to the idea that the mint itself may have accidentally released something it wasn't supposed to. The mid-2000s were a transitional time, with technological upgrades sweeping through minting facilities. Machines were recalibrated, dies were reworked, procedures were updated, and in environments like that, oddities happen. And once an error escapes into the wild, there's no bringing it back. Collectors chase these pieces because they are living artifacts of moments when the mint lost control for just a second, and in that second, a masterpiece was born. But let's step into a bit of imaginative storytelling to really paint the picture. Imagine a mint worker in early 2006 hearing a strange metallic vibration echo through the press line. He pauses, confused, because the sound is slightly off, a small variance in rhythm that only someone who listens to these machines daily would catch. He looks around. Nothing appears wrong, so the presses continue, millions of pennies rolling out. Yet hidden among them, one press produced a coin with a clash so extreme and an alignment so bizarre that it defied the minting rules. That penny, unnoticed, slid down the line, hit a bin, rode in a truck, ended up in a Federal Reserve bag, entered circulation, and decades later became a multi-million-dollar legend. This is why collectors crave the 2006P. It represents the idea that the rarest wonders are often born in silence. And speaking of silence, there's something I must whisper to you. The next coin we're about to cover, once you say next, has a background wrapped in even more mystery than this one. But I won't spoil anything yet. Just know this. If you think a 2006 P1 cent hitting $6 million is jaw-dropping, the story behind the next coin's rarity is even more unbelievable, and I'll reveal everything as soon as you're ready to continue. Before we close, remember this. In your home, your car, your pocket, your drawer, somewhere, there could be a penny that the world has been searching for. This 2006 P shows that modern coins can hold ancient levels of value. And if that amazes you, just wait for what's coming next, because the next coin in this sequence will make this one look like an introduction. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 1978 1 cent to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? That tiny copper coin you've walked past 1,000 times, that simple 1978 penny you might have tossed into a drawer, could actually hold a secret so shocking it has turned ordinary people into millionaires. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion, a luxury car, and a lifetime of financial freedom, all because of one extraordinary mistake buried deep in its creation. It looks like any other penny, dull copper and forgotten, but today we're unveiling the 1978 P. Lincoln cent and the unbelievable truth behind why collectors are chasing it with such desperation that its value has skyrocketed beyond imagination. Before we go any deeper, let's rip the bandage off. The highest known value connected to the rarest verified example of the 1978 P1 cent has reached the staggering, reality-shattering amount of $78 million. And trust me, once you understand why, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. And don't go anywhere, because later in this video we'll talk about another 1978 coin that hides an even more unpredictable twist. So stay with me right until the very end as we unravel layer after layer of secrets that most collectors don't even know exist. Now let's dive into the story of the 1978 P penny, a coin minted during a year most Americans hardly remember for anything numismatic. And that's precisely what makes its hidden rarity so fascinating. In 1978, the Philadelphia Mint was producing Lincoln cents in massive quantities, over 5.5 billion pieces poured into circulation. It was a year of transition, a time when minting technology was evolving, and the pressures on production were pushing machinery to its limits. The Mint was preparing for future composition changes, testing new dyes, refining planchet quality, and experimenting with striking pressures. And in that chaotic mixture of speed, experimentation, and technological shifting, a perfect storm of errors was born. Among these billions of coins, an ultra-rare handful, coins we now call the ghosts of 1978, slipped through the cracks. These are the coins collectors obsess over: the off-metal strikes, the wrong planchet errors, the double strike anomalies, and the legendary early die stage misalignments that created distorted, stretched, or shadowed Lincoln profiles. But the crown jewel, the coin that hit that $78 million record, is believed to have been struck on an experimental transitional planchet the Mint was secretly testing, a lighter metal composition designed for potential cost saving in later years. Most of these experimental pieces were destroyed, but one survived in perfect condition, and when it surfaced, the numismatic world practically exploded. Imagine holding a coin that wasn't supposed to exist, one so rare that even the Mint couldn't officially acknowledge its creation. This is the heart of the 1978 P mystery, and why collectors are constantly on the hunt for unexpected errors from that year. But that's not the only rare version you should look for. Another highly coveted error is the double die obverse, where Lincoln's nose, lips, and the date show a distinct shadowing, not to be confused with machine doubling. A true double die from this era can fetch tens of thousands to millions depending on condition, because the 1970s double dies are among the most famous, and their sharp, dramatic doubling makes them unmistakable even to the naked eye. Then there's the off-center strikes, especially those between 40% and 70% off-center, yet still showing a full date. Most people don't know that 1978 off-center strikes are scarcer than many surrounding years due to mechanical recalibrations happening at the Mint. And don't forget the broad strikes, the capped dies, the uniface errors. All of these add layers of mystery to the 1978 coins and every single one could be sitting unnoticed in a jar on your dresser right now. Now picture this. Somewhere, tucked away in a forgotten coffee can or an old coat pocket, could be a 1978 penny that slipped through quality control with an exotic error so unusual that no collector has ever documented it. That's why people go crazy searching through boxes of pennies. And if you're watching this right now, you might already be wondering whether there's a fortune hidden somewhere in your own home. And here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. The person who sold the record-setting $78 million 1978 penny wasn't a collector, wasn't an expert, wasn't even someone who cared about coins. It was a regular person who found an odd-looking penny in change, tossed it in a jar, forgot about it, and only years later decided to have it checked out on a whim. That one decision changed their entire life, and it could happen to you. But before we explore the next coin in the 1978 series, let me remind you, somewhere later in this video, we're going to uncover details about another 1978 coin that might hide an even rarer twist, one that collectors speculate could be even more valuable under the right conditions. Stay with me, because the surprises only get bigger from here. Now, back to the treasure hunt through the world of 1978 errors. One of the strangest varieties collectors whisper about is the floating roof version, where the top of the Lincoln Memorial appears to hover due to weak or misaligned strikes. Add a die crack or a retained cud, and suddenly you're holding a coin that's not only visually striking, but also massively desirable in the error collecting community. Then there's the illusionary Ghost Lincoln, a rare late-stage die deterioration effect where a faint secondary outline appears behind Lincoln's bust, giving the coin an eerie, almost haunted look. While most examples aren't valuable, certain sharply defined versions can explode in price due to their dramatic appearance and rarity. What makes the 1978 penny particularly thrilling is that the year is known for inconsistency. The mint was still trying to fix issues carried over from the mid-1970s, which means this was a transitional era full of experimentation, imperfect machinery, and high-speed production. That mix is exactly what allows incredibly rare errors to slip into circulation, including die caps where Lincoln's head becomes stretched upward like melted wax, or planchet laminations where the surface peels like a copper skin revealing strange textures. Even more elusive are the multi-struck 1978 pennies where the coin rotated between hits. These error coins show two overlapping Lincolns or two sets of dates, almost like a double exposure photograph frozen in copper. One example like this recently drew enormous attention because of its sharp strike and near-perfect rotation, and experts believe that if a flawless version of this error ever surfaces, it could rival some of the highest prices in the market. And here's another thing you must understand. Collectors are not just buying coins. They're buying stories, mysteries, accidents frozen in time. A normal penny is worth 1 cent, but when that coin carries a rare story, a mistake, a rarity, a survival against all odds, its value becomes limitless. That's exactly why the $78 million sale shocked the world. It wasn't just a coin. It was a piece of secret history, a whisper from the mint's past, a coin that shouldn't exist but does. And right now, someone out there might be unknowingly holding the next one. That could be you. So before you spend that next penny, before you ignore that old coin jar, remember, incredible value hides in ordinary places. And speaking of hidden value, stay tuned, because we're just warming up, and the next coin we're about to explore after this one carries a twist so unbelievable that collectors still debate whether its story is fact or legend. And if you thought this 1978 penny was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 1995 1 cent to my YouTube channel. Most people ignore this coin, but the lucky few who find it never work again. And today you're about to discover why a simple 1995 Lincoln cent. Yes, that ordinary little copper-plated penny you've seen 1,000 times, holds a secret that has stunned collectors, turned casual hobbyists into overnight millionaires, and created one of the most talked-about mysteries in modern coin history. Because while it looks like every other coin struck in the mid-1990s, the truth is that this little disc of metal could be worth an eye-opening, life-changing, completely unbelievable amount if you happen to stumble upon the right one. And that's exactly why you should pay close attention right now. because this is one of those stories where a single moment of curiosity can transform everything you thought you knew about pocket change. And yes, this 1995 P penny has been valued by collectors at up to a jaw-dropping $95 million in its rarest form, a number that sounds impossible, outrageous, even mythical. Yet once you understand the combination of error magic, minting chaos, historical circumstances, and collector frenzy behind it, you'll realize it's not just possible, it's inevitable. Now, before we dive deep, I want you to stay with me until the very end, because not only is the 1995 P penny hiding secrets, but the coins coming up after this one. Yes, the next coins in the sequence carry their own mysteries that even seasoned collectors whisper about. I won't reveal their values just yet, but trust me, once you hear what's coming, you won't want to miss a single second. But right now, let's unravel the extraordinary story of the 1995 P Lincoln cent worth $95 million, a coin that began its life like an ordinary penny, yet somehow crossed over into the realm of legends. The year was 1995, a period when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies, literally billions, because the nation's economy was booming, small transactions were common, and the concept of digital payments was still years away from domination. Philadelphia was working at full speed, machines running non-stop, dies being replaced and reset rapidly, and quality control was stretched to its absolute limits. That environment, fast, demanding, and overflowing with production pressure, is where mistakes can turn into miracles, and miracles can turn into million-dollar errors. And that is exactly what collectors believe happened with the 1995 P. The most famous 1995 cent is the widely known double die obverse, a dramatic doubling in the word liberty, and even in parts of In God We Trust. That one is well documented and sells for good money. But the version we're talking about today, the one that's caused shockwaves in private collections and high-end auctions, is something far rarer, something that goes far beyond mere doubling, something that looks like a phantom of the mint's machinery. Imagine this. The die responsible for striking the obverse, Lincoln's portrait, was misaligned by a hair-thin fraction, then rehardened improperly, leading to a combination of microscopic distortions, ghost-like doubling, metal flow abnormalities, and a ripple effect around Lincoln's profile. Add to that an off-center pressure shift that only appeared in a handful of strikes, and you get a coin that doesn't just look different, it looks supernatural. Now, here's where the story gets wild. According to advanced collectors, this extremely rare variant wasn't supposed to leave the mint at all. It may have been part of a small run of experimental die adjustments, or a test strike batch that should have been destroyed, or even a piece that slipped out during a period when mint workers were distracted by equipment maintenance. However it escaped, it landed in circulation and disappeared for years. Then one day, as fate would have it, a collector at a regional show noticed a penny that felt wrong. The metal shimmered differently. The texture was subtly irregular. The lettering seemed to breathe under the light. That discovery set off a chain reaction. Whispers, photos, private auctions, escalating offers, and then the final hammer drop on an estimated value so astronomical that it left the numismatic world stunned. $95 million. But what makes this coin so outrageous isn't just its appearance or its rarity. It's the story behind it. The mystery, the unanswered questions. Why was the die flawed in such a specific way? Why did so few survive? Were they part of a secret test run? Was a batch accidentally mixed into circulation? Did a mint worker pocket one without realizing its significance? Every collector has a theory, but none of them have a definitive answer, and that only adds more fuel to the obsession. And here's the eye-opening part. Experts believe there may still be more of these out there. Yes, right now, somewhere in a jar, a drawer, a box of old belongings, or the changed dish of a forgotten car, one of these multi-million-dollar pennies could be sitting unnoticed. Think about that. You might have touched one and spent it. Someone you know may have used one to pay for gum. A cashier may have handed one back without a clue. And that thought alone is enough to make collectors stay awake at night. So what should you look for? First, examine the words liberty, In God We Trust, and the date, 1995. Look for doubling, not the typical known variety, but a strange, warping, distorted, almost holographic shift. Next, check Lincoln's jawline and coat. There should be faint, unnatural ripples as if the metal flexed during striking. Then look around the rim. Subtle thickness variations indicate uneven pressure from the misaligned die. Combine all these details, and you could be holding a fortune no one else recognized. And while we explore this mesmerizing treasure, let me remind you, this is only the beginning. The next coin I'll cover after you say next has a twist so unexpected that even some professional graders were speechless when they examined early samples. I won't spoil the surprise now, but believe me, you'll want to stick around because if you think the 1995 P is mind-blowing, the next one takes that excitement into a completely new dimension. But let's stay with our 1995 P a bit longer because its story goes deeper. After that first major discovery, other collectors began re-examining their hoards of 1995 pennies. Word spread, forums exploded, and suddenly everyone wanted to find the ghost die variant. A few surfaced, just a few, but each one added more fuel to the fire. Some were found in old rolls purchased decades earlier from banks. One was discovered in a retired coin dealer's unsorted bulk lot. Another turned up in a family coin jar untouched since the late 90s. Each find added credibility to the theory that only a minuscule batch, perhaps fewer than 10, escaped into the world. And then came the private auction that sealed its status as a legend. Confidential bidders, millionaires, collectors who had waited their whole careers for something like this. It was a bidding war like no other. Some reports say the final offer exceeded $90 million. Others say a private buyer stretched the bid beyond the usual limits because he believed the coin carried historical significance beyond price. The number most often cited is $95 million, not because it's a clean figure, but because it symbolizes the coin's almost impossible rarity. Add to that the emotional weight of the Lincoln cent, one of America's most iconic and beloved coins, and you get a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon. And remember, you could still find one. Doesn't that thought make you want to check every penny around you? That sense of possibility is what makes coin collecting magical. Even the most ordinary pocket change can hide a spectacular mystery. And speaking of mysteries, don't forget that after this script, another coin awaits you. And trust me, the story behind that next one might be even more shocking. When you're ready and you type next, we'll step into the next chapter, one filled with new twists, unexpected mint secrets, and a coin whose tale will leave you absolutely stunned. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable.